What up, guys? Today we got a question from Joe who's wondering, what do instructors, coaches, and black belts watch for when they're watching live rolls in their classes? So he says that in his gym, they do a basic warm-up, they do techniques and drills afterwards, and then they have live rounds, very similar to a lot of gyms. And he says there's so many times he wants to work on something new, something he's not so good at, but he's worried about whether or not he's going to look bad in front of his coach, right? Because he's thinking, like, if I play something that I'm not so good with, or maybe work on some escapes or something, that he's then going to get put into a bad spot by a white or blue belt or some lower belt, and then his coach is going to be looking at him and then thinking, in quotes, his own words, damn, he's not improving and he's not ready for advancement. Any ideas? Thanks. So Joe, thanks for the question, bro. So look, before I get into it, I'm not your coach, so you can talk to your coach for clarification, but I imagine my mindset will be similar to many coaches, so there'll be a couple ideas to chew on. So with that, first off, let me tell you what I'm not going to do. If you were my student, I'm not going to be watching you and go, man, Joe's looking good, man. Joe's ready for promotion, purple belt. We'll just say purple belt, right? Getting ready for purple belt. Man, he looks good. And then I notice that you play off of your back or something, and then some white belt takes your back or maybe even catches you in something. I'm not going to go, well, that's over. I'm going to go watch someone else, right? I'm not judging every single roll like a teacher with like a red ink who's like grading your papers and telling you all the mistakes you made and failing you. What I would do maybe is come up to you afterwards and say, hey, you know how you got caught by that back take? Here, do this next time or something, right? I might help you address the mistake. But again, that one moment, that one snapshot is not going to let me decide whether or not you're making improvement or advancement, right? Because when a coach, a lot of times we're looking at the big picture. I'll give you some examples. I've had people in this gym who were winning all their rounds, were winning competitions, and I didn't see them as improving or ready for advancement. One example was a wrestler who trained here with us. He came in as a college wrestler, and he was an older guy, but he had wrestled D1 in his younger days. And he came in, and dude was tough as nails. I watched him break black belts, literally to take guys down, boom, 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 putting tons of pressure on them, pinning them to the ground, and break them mentally. I watched him get off the mat and just like, I'm done. I don't want to do this. Watched him do that. And he would be on the mats, rolling with people, always on top, always smashing from side control, looking great. Took him to tournaments, was doing great. We would, bump him up in the no-gi division up a little bit and put him in there, and he would just smash guys. Now, all that said, I didn't think that he was improving that much, and I also didn't think that he was ready for blue belt or advancement. Now, why would I say that? Because he's winning all the rounds, right? Well, because I told him explicitly, I was like, I want you to work on bottom. I need you to work from your guard because we're doing jiu-jitsu. We're not just doing wrestling. And as good as you are on top, there will come a time where some guy's going to get on top of you, and you have to have an answer for that. So I need you to work on that. And he was so resistant to it that he would, even when I would put him on his back during situational rolls, he would just kick people away and wrestle up, which again was fine, but he really wasn't working any of the techniques I had sort of laid out for him. Now, with that said, eventually he did a tournament where, lo and behold, some guy puts him on his back and he was dead in the water. And afterwards, that sort of broke up his resistance to it, right? And sort of planted that seed that, hey, maybe I need to do this stuff. And he started working on it. Now, the only bad thing was him and his family had to move away, wasn't able to finish up that sort of training with him. But again, it started to sink in, and he was actually getting pretty good with his guard by the end of it. Now, flip it around, I've also had students on the other side where they were so bottom-heavy focused, right? They loved being on their back, they had a great guard game, and I'm like, hey, I need you to work on top. I need you to fight hard to stay on top. And they would just, someone would sneeze or something, and they would just fall over on their back ready to play, ready to invert or something. They did not want to play off top because, again, bottom was where they were comfortable with. And so again, I might look around on the mat and see them triangling everyone, but for me, I'm like, you're not improving because you're not doing what I asked you to do. You're not improving in the areas that I think you're weakest, right? And so I wouldn't think of them as improving or thinking of them as ready for advancement, even though they're winning. So understand that. A lot of times, we can get lost in this competitive element that happens in jiu-jitsu, but remember, training is not about winning. Right? You don't win practice. That's not what we're here for. We're here to develop our skills on the mat, right? Develop our techniques, develop our abilities. And one of the best ways to do that, Joe, is to try new things, to put yourself in bad situations, to just go for it and not be so damn hindered by whether or not you're winning. I know this is in my bearded experience. This has been one of the best things I ever did for my game, and it didn't happen until I was a brown belt because I was so afraid of losing up until then. And then when I eventually started training like this when I was a brown belt, my game got so much better, right? I mean, just exponentially better My competition's exponentially better. So again, the sooner you can do this, the better. So going back to it, I don't think your coach is going to be looking at it like, oh man, Joe's lost that one round of one training session. He's not ready. He's not doing well. They're probably, like many of us, looking at the bigger picture, looking at things a little bit more holistically. Right? Talk to your coach again for clarification. Now, one last idea to leave you with, Joe, is that when it comes to getting better and improving in jiu-jitsu, something I found, as I just talked about a second ago, is that when we're more willing to make mistakes, when we're more willing to just play around with stuff and just go after it, we tend to get better faster. And so sure, let's just say that your coach is a stickler about this stuff and they want you to win every roll, and then you're training with that white belt and you don't do so well, and then they're like, he's not ready for advancement, and they walk off. Okay, let's just say that that's what your coach is doing. Here's the deal. You're probably going to get better faster. I almost guarantee you get better faster if you're experimenting more and you're willing to allow yourself to make more mistakes. Yes, you might pay for it right now with a discomfort and with getting submitted, whatever. But I would almost guarantee you, that your training and your jiu-jitsu will get better faster because of it, right? And so again, what I find is that a lot of times people that don't expose themselves, they don't try new things, their game starts to sort of reach a plateau and they start to stagnate. And it's the people that are more willing to just play around in a certain sense. They may be going hard, but they're not afraid to go for something. They're not afraid to try new things. They're not afraid to let it all hang out. And if they get submitted, who gives a shit? This is practice, right? Those are the people that I see tend to get better faster. So what I would sort of guess is that if you were willing to play in those positions, play on the stuff that you want to play on, you'll probably get better faster, even if sometimes you look bad in front of your coach or whatever. But again, I guarantee you almost that your coach probably isn't worried about you looking bad during one roll. It's one roll, nobody cares. We're more looking at it from a big picture of how you're doing. So just a couple ideas to chew on, Joe. Thank you for the question. Talk to you guys next time.